Well, good morning, and it's so good to see all of you here. And we are off to a great start. How many of you have New Year's goals this year? Put it in the chat, like if you have a New Year's goal. Anyone have one? I see Dr. Aponte, she has her hands up. I have some New Year's goals as well, but they're different this year, different than they've ever been before. And I'll share a little bit more about that. But if you want to tell us in the chat where you're from, and we would love to know where everyone is from today. And then also, if you want to share your New Year's goal, put it in the chat. You know what? There's always a benefit in accountability. When we're accountable with each other, we share things, it's going to really up level our, like really just the way that we do life in general. So today we're doing micro sessions, and this is something new that we're going to be doing often. We have a group of people that are here that are going to be helping us. They are fantastic. You are going to get amazing information. And today's session is strategic intelligence and how we can truly up level our brains. So we have a lot of different people here. Marianne, I saw that you're here from Albuquerque. We have let's see, Maria from New York. Yes, Regina, she's from Atlanta. So a lot of different places that people are from. And isn't Zoom nice that we can all get together in one place and we can learn and share and grow together? So we are doing micro sessions, and micro sessions are so different, but they're so good for the brain because what you're doing is you're taking these small amounts of information and you're going to be able to learn something fast and quick. And so, what I encourage you to do right now is to make sure that you have some paper and that you have a pen so that you can write things down. Now, your writing might be a little bit messy, and guess what? That's okay. The main thing is you just want to get it on the paper. And then I'm going to encourage you to take everything that you write down today, and I want you to go a little bit later and I want you to write it down for the second time. Okay, so you're going to kind of do two different things. You're going to take notes as fast and quick as you can today, and then you're going to go back and do like a little refresher course for your brain and go over each of those things. Now, we only have 2 minutes, so these are like fast introductions we're going to do right now. But I would like each of our presenters tell us just your name, what you do, and maybe just one fun fact. So we'll start with you, Dr. Aponte.
Well, so great to be here today. And for me, I'm a neuropsychologist, brain health expert. I love everything about the brain and how we can make it, live to its potential. And something fun about me is I love horses. I'm hooked with horses. We live with 8 horses in the property. And so that's my life every day. I live surrounded by nature and horses.
I love that. We just watched a movie and it was about a ranch and it reminded me of what you do. I'll have
Yeah,
to share the name of the movie. It was just recent. A couple days ago, we watched it and I thought about you.
we love
So,
all the
welcome.
horses.
I'm so glad you're here. And let's go ahead next to Regina.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Regina Bryan. I live in the metro Atlanta area. I'm an emotional intelligence specialist. I love all things EQ as well as DISC. And let's see, fun fact. I've been playing the piano for 12 or 13 years now, and just got a I won't say computer because I am on my new computer. I got a new piano right before Thanksgiving. So I'm very grateful for that.
That is awesome. I have to tell you, Regina, you've inspired me. I started playing piano when I was a little girl, and then I quit playing, and it's sitting in my house. And I'm like, if Regina can play the piano, then I need to get started again. So you've inspired me. So
But
welcome, Regina. We're
played
glad you're here.
on until I was 38 years old. So I just have to tell everybody that.
Oh, wow. Look at
Wow.
you. That's awesome. See, that encourages all of us. So thank you. Okay, Maria, let's go to you next.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria Mayer. I'm the CEO of Step Up and Thrive. I love coaching, everything around executive coaching, leadership coaching. I'm also a speaker and a trainer. I'm from upstate New York. And a fun fact about me, since we're talking about brain here and brain health, from my early childhood, I loved fish. And particularly my dad said, when you eat fish brain, you'll be smart. So I
Oh,
believed in that. And he was a fisherman. He used to bring a lot of fish home. And one of the favorite parts for me to eat with fish from fish was the fish brain. fun and weird, but again, beliefs drive behavior, and I believed him. And up to nowadays, I still love fish and I love eating fish brain.
Well, there you go. So now we know about the fish's brain. We know about horses and the piano. Dylan, we're to you and Maria. We're so glad that you're with us. I know you're going to bring a wealth of information to our group.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dylan. I live in Dallas, Texas, in the Dallas, Texas area, and I wear a lot of different hats. I work in education, and then also a big part of my life is marketing. And so I love helping people discover, who they are or what their brand is, and helping them go and figure out how to maximize their potential with their audience. So that's kind of a little bit about me. Probably my most fun fact right now. I'm a new dad, so I just had a baby 4 months ago, and so I'm having all the fun with my baby. And obviously, if you don't know, Michonne's my mom, so she's always teaching me all the good, fun development stuff. So playing with the new toys and all that good stuff, I really, really enjoy it. So that's been my fun thing right now is enjoying my daughter.
Thank you, Dylan. And Dylan works right alongside me. It's nice to have like a mother and son team. And he does a lot of our technology pieces as well. So thank you, Dylan. He's going to be sharing a little bit with us today about AI. So that'll be fun, something we can learn about. Well, I'm going to hop right into the first session. And our first session right now is called What Are the Facts About You? Now, how many of you know that most people do not actually reach their New Year's goals? Just give me like a yes in the comments if you know that's true. Okay, we have heads nodding and we have people saying, yes, we know that's true. Well, I'm going to ask you, does anyone know the percentage of people that drop off by January? Just put the number, the percentage between 0 to 100%. What's the percentage of drop off? Okay, Maria said 92. Okay, Michael said 90. Yes. Anyone else? We have yes, in 82. Very good. So, the statistics anywhere between 90 to 93%, depending on the study. Now, I'm going to ask you today, let's just say it's the 93, because that's the highest number I've seen on a study. Do you want to be part of the 93% or the 7%? If you want to be part of the 7% with your goals this year, I want you to put 7 in the comments. Because let me tell you what, I don't want to be a part of the 93. But I know that in order for me to really step it up, right, and to be part of that group that makes it and they are successful, I have to do things differently. And that's what today is about. It's about strategic intelligence. Because when things are strategic, it's going to be long term. It's not something that I just do for the moment, but it's going to be a game plan that I have that's long term, and it's going to show the intelligence that I have. And so, what we want to do today is we want to give you fast and quick strategies to really build that strategic intelligence within the brain. So, there's no better place to start than really taking a mirror and looking at yourself. That's where we have to begin. So, we're gonna pretend that we have like a mirror in front of us. And I want you, as you think about each of these things that I give you, I want you to really pretend like you're looking in the mirror and asking yourself that question, like, what are the facts about me? Okay, so that's where we're going to begin today. On your paper, I want you to write the word facts. And I would go FACTS. You're stacking the letters. We're going to be doing an acronym really quick. When I think about the facts about me, I can even kind of do like a little analogy, and I can think about a car. And if you think about a car, the car is not going to go anywhere unless I put something in it called fuel. Right? And it's the same thing for your body. So the F is going to be for food. And think of it just like the fuel that you're putting in your body every single day. Now, we all have come off of this time where we spent a lot of time probably with family, celebrating the holiday. And how many of you had too much sugar or too many treats? Anyone? I mean, I could raise both hands. It's the time of the year that you're like, I'm going to try this recipe that my grandmother made, or I'm going to make chocolate chip cookies or candy or whatever it may be. And so now we're back at this place saying, hey, that maybe that was a little bit too much. Well, we know that when we do not put the right kind of food into our body, right, our brain does not function the right way. It's not that our body just feels tired. Our brain literally does not function the right way. Also, if I don't put even in the right kind of like liquids into my body, like the right water, and I'm not hydrated, my brain will not function correctly. They have found through research that even 2% of dehydration will affect the brain. You'll have brain fog, you will be tired, you will not have the mental capability that you need to have to think a project through. So when you think about the facts about you, for F, I want you to put food. And I want you to ask yourself this week, between 1 and 10, where are you at with the food that you're putting into your body? Now let's go on down to the next letter. The next one is A, and that's activity. What kind of activity are you doing every single day? Are you moving your body, or are you just sitting in front of the computer screen? And maybe if you work at home, you might not do much more walking than walking from the bedroom to the kitchen to your office. If that's what you're doing, well, that's probably not quite enough activity. We know that activity, when we are moving our bodies, it's going to reduce the stress that we're going through. How many of you have stress? Just put yes in the comments if you're like, yes, I do. I have stress in my life. I think we all do. It's in different ways, comes in different seasons. Also, when we are active and our body is moving, it's going to have more blood flow, and we need that blood flow to go to the brain, right? So that our cognitive ability is sharp and we're able to think things through. So the oxygen is now like in the blood, it's all moving, and we want that. So number one, F is for food, A is for activity. But here's where the C comes in. C is for community. We know that when people are isolated, they start feeling depressed, they start feeling sad. And so anytime that we have a time of isolation, it is not good for our brain. But if I'm in community with people, consistently in community, it's going to help me have stronger conversations. I'm going to work on problem solving. I'm going to have joy. How many of you know that you can just laugh when you're with different people? You have those people in your life that bring that joy to you? So when I think about the facts about me, again, F is for food, A is activity, C is community, and T, here we go, T is for our thoughts. What are the things that you're thinking about? When you first get up in the morning, are you thinking about, oh, I'm so tired, or oh, it's Monday again? Or are your thoughts in the right place and space? Now, I'm going to share with you a little bit later about Gen Z. And actually, today we were supposed to have Deb and Trevor Holt with us, and they were not able to make it. There was like a little emergency that they had. And at 4:55, I get like a little message on my phone. And immediately I had a choice to make. Like, how am I going to think about this situation? And I want to tell you, your thoughts, you have to take them like immediately and pull them in. Are they going to be positive? Are they going to be helpful? Are they going to be kind? Not just positive thoughts, but kind thoughts, even towards yourself. Are they thankful thoughts? Think about those things. What kind of thoughts do you have? Because it truly affects your brain and how you're going to function. There's even something right now called the 5-second rule. I don't know if anyone has heard of that rule, but the 5-second rule says that when a thought comes into your head and it's negative, you have 5 seconds to change it. And if you don't change it, you will act according to it. So I want you to really think about that. Do you need to change your thought patterns? And then the S is for sleep. Are you getting enough sleep? I mean, just tell us in the comments how many hours of sleep you get on a consistent basis. If I had to be honest, for the longest time, I would probably put 5 to 6 hours of sleep. Now I'm trying to do a lot better. Regina said 5.5 to 6. We have 7, 7 to 8. Linda said 4 hours, 6 hours. So we have some honesty here. And so I want you to start thinking about if your brain needs to have time to actually rejuvenate and like prune things out that don't need to be there. That happens when we're in a sleep state. And so if you're not sleeping enough, then I think you need to ask yourself today, what are the facts about me? And I want you to do this little exercise on a consistent basis because it's going to make you stronger in your work. It's going to make you stronger. If you're a writer, you'll see that your writing will flow better. You will find that you're going to be happier when you're around your family and when you're friends. So I want to go through it one more time. F is for food. A is activity. C is community. T is your thoughts. And S is your sleep. Now, remember I told you the analogy with the car? I want to kind of go through that really quick. Yes, I said, the F, that is like the fuel that you put into your body. But I want you to think about activity. What if you just got in your car and you just sat in your car? You never turned it on, right? That's what happens like with our bodies. Sometimes we're just sitting. And so if you think about activity, you have to start the engine, right? You've got to back up the car and you're going to take it somewhere. So just like the car, we can think about ourselves. We need to have it going somewhere. Now, when it goes somewhere, that's the community. You're going different places, whether it be the grocery store or whether it's church, or maybe you have a group of friends that you're meeting. That's where that community comes in. Now, let's talk about thoughts. Thoughts, this is what I think about when I think about a car. A car needs an oil change. A car needs a filter change, right? There's all these different things. There's the brake alignment. It's getting everything back into the right order. And that's how our thoughts are, because so easily they can go from positive to negative. Give me a yes in the comments if you understand what I'm saying with that, right? That your thoughts can go from positive to negative just so quick, right? So think about, hey, do I need like an oil changer, a filter change, or maybe I need a new alignment? And then the S is for sleep, right? But think about this with a car. We take it to the car wash. We get it where it looks pristine and it looks beautiful. That's what happens to your brain when you're sleeping. It's repairing itself. It's getting itself into a better place. And then I take it and I park it in the garage. I'm taking care of it. And when you're sleeping, you're taking care of your brain. And so I hope that helps you when you start thinking this year, where do I begin with my goals? I'm going to say, start with something very simple and ask yourself, what are the facts about me? And I think when you do that, you're going to start seeing life in a different way. Here's the thing, when I eat differently, I function differently. Even when I travel, and I travel a lot, breakfast is an important meal. But if you're at a hotel, a lot of times you have no idea what you're going to be able to get, right? Sometimes I will travel with like even the Bureau of Education and Research, and they'll put me at a hotel and they might have like a restaurant downstairs. Well, here's what I've learned. I want to have the right fuel for my brain. I might get down to the restaurant and it's like things I don't even eat. So like I always travel with applesauce, like organic applesauce and like almonds or pecans, because here's a little tip and trick I'm going to give you right now. When you're thinking about giving yourself the right fuel for your brain, you always want to pair produce with protein. Those two things. Produce with protein is always going to help your brain. It's going to help your brain. It's going to help your body. And so that's my encouragement for you this year, is to really think about the facts about you. Now it's my turn to hand it off to Dr. Morales Aponte. She's a dear friend. We've trained together, I think now, like it might be getting close to 2 years. Like off and on, we've done a lot of training together. And she is a wealth of wisdom. That's what I'm going to say. And so I'm turning it over to her right now. I made my time right on these micro sessions. And so now, Dr. Aponte, you're on. And we're looking forward to hearing from you and more about the brain.
Well, I am so excited always to be here with you, and I love your acronyms. Let me tell you, I learned so much from them, and I keep them, often. I love this fact. So please, if you took notes, make sure you're using this every day, because you literally, just gave a brain health, in a nutshell, right? So the fuel, the activity, the hydration, the sleep. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit really about how are you able to just expand, your abilities? How are you able to be more productive? And it's with a little key word that I want to teach about today, and it's neuroplasticity, right? And so how are we able to expand our neuroplasticity and be successful in every day? But I have a question for you. Have you ever sat down to work and your brain just wouldn't like cooperate? Has anybody done that? Has anybody had that happen? Put a yes on the chat, because I know that we all have experienced that. Now, let me tell you something. It has nothing to do with lack of intelligence or ability. It has nothing to do with that. And that is one piece that I really want you to take with you today. Now, why does this happen? Why do we often have brain fog? It's very simple. It is a cognitive overload of our system. Now, I always travel and carry with me my friend Brainy because I love for you to understand that thoughts, emotions, and actions and behaviors start in a particular place. They don't start in the air, something like mystical out there, outside of our bodies. It's not. It starts with, our central nervous system. However, we often talk about health in a way that has nothing to do with the brain. Everything is about high blood pressure, low blood pressure, high sugar, low sugars. We're always taking care of other pieces of our health, but we rarely think about what the computer of that system, the whole programming system, does and how it does it. And let me tell you, brain fog is really an overload of this amazing system. Now, today we're mainly going to talk about the frontal part of our brain, which is our prefrontal cortex. And we are going to talk about neuroplasticity. What is neuroplasticity? How can we, what does that mean? Are we going to play with Play-Doh here? Not really, but we could. And it's because when we have brain fog, it's that chronic, it's based on chronic overload, it's based on chronic stress, it's based on poor recovery of our routines. So when the system just gets overloaded, it's just like, think about cable TV, right? Have you ever seen the cable that brings our cable TV? When they're setting it up, nowadays we have a lot of wireless, right? But when they are setting it up to your house, it's a very thick cable with inner cables inside. Have you ever seen that type of cable? I hope you have. Because our connections, if anything breaks that cable, and let me tell you, my husband doing a construction here not too long ago was trying to dig on something, and what did he hit? The cable, internet cable. And what happened with the signal? Forget it. We were without signal and quite for a while because the information doesn't pass through. And so when we are talking about brain fog, it just means the system, something in our system is overloaded, is not allowing our connections to be properly passed on through the whole complex system that the brain is. And so I want you to think about that because really the brain that you have today is not the brain that you're stuck with, right? It's not the brain that you have to stuck with because the one good thing about this thing called neuroplasticity is that we can actually train it. And so what is really neuroplasticity? It's our ability to rewire, to readapt, and to strengthen our experiences and knowledge and abilities through exposing ourselves to different experiences. Now, what you do repeatedly, what you focus on, and how you recover from experiences, that is really what causes the interconnection of all of those cells and neurons within the brain. Now, that prefrontal cortex that I showed you is the one really responsible for thoughts. And it's interesting because when Michonne was talking about facts, facts relates, one of the letters that I love is the second one, which is activity, right? Move towards movement. And our brain really relies on movement for thought. So if this is our prefrontal cortex, this zone right here that looks like red and blue, all of this area right here and towards a little bit towards the back is called our parietal lobe. And our parietal lobe is very important because it activates motor function. And what it does is when we're able to be in movement and active, we obligate our prefrontal cortex to be active at the same time. There is not one sector of the brain that is active at one time. It is a whole network. And so with neuroplasticity, I love activity because what we do repeatedly, what we focus on, it's what's going to help us recover and create new neural connections all over that brain to create what? New thoughts, new emotions, and new behaviors. So understanding the brain is key. Your daily routines really are constantly training your brain either towards what you want or towards the fog. So you have to pay attention to what are you training your brain with. And that's what's going to cause those changes. Now the question is, if your brain is changing, how is it changing, right? How do we create that change? Well, it's very simple. I call it when we have the brain fog, we are just overstimulated. So sometimes it's a three-part framework really for this. Overstimulation, under recovered. That means if we're overstimulated, we're putting too much activity, too much in our schedule. Sometimes we don't even think about it, but have you ever had this experience? You have a day off, but if you really take the day off, you feel like you're wasting time. Anybody has felt that? Like if you're really doing nothing, like if you all of a sudden decide, I'm just gonna just chill in my hammock out there between the two trees. And then all of a sudden you're like trying to lay out there for, I don't know, just say half an hour. I don't know, whatever. It's my day off. Why couldn't I? And all of a sudden, this feeling of, oh my goodness, I should be doing all these other things. Have you ever had that feeling? I know I've had it. I have it all the time, right? And even through the holidays, right? Somebody said, I felt like that during the holidays because we try to take time off and then we say, wow, we're taking all this time off. Should it be okay? Like, because we have our brains in our overload. And so we need to bring that down and understand that overstimulation does nothing good for your brain, does nothing good for neuroplasticity. And that under recovered brain means you have poor sleep, you have no mental pauses. And when you don't pause like that, actually, you are causing damage to your brain. You are causing those neural networks to stay in a hyper mode and stay in a constant emotional, kind of like, the little rat race, the I don't know what you call them, but the little exercise for mice and hamsters. You just feel like you always have to be running, always have to be going, and that does not hamster wheel. Thank you, Michael. Hamster wheel. So it's like being in that hamster wheel, right? You need to make pauses. You need to let your brain recoup and regenerate, and that's going to be an important part of neuroplasticity. So an untrained attention system is also part of that brain fog. So three parts to this: overstimulation, check on your facts, right? Go back to those facts and see how overstimulated you might be. Number two, it's under recovered brain. Are you not sleeping well? So go back to the facts. You see how Michonne really hit it on with the facts? Go back to the sleep. And number three, untrained attention, lack of, really thought and action. So if you see, we can go back to those facts and think, where are we untrained? Now, I have for you three really quick activities that you can do so that on a daily basis you can think, how am I going to be more productive, be more successful, be more, have my brain in a better engagement so that I have better decision making, I have better position to move forward, and those goals for 2026, we can be part of that 7%, right? And let me tell you, so number one, just write them down because these are going to be important, and this is it. So number one, or your routine number one, is going to be three routines I'm giving you today. Number one is morning brain activation. Okay, morning brain activation. I want you to think of when you wake up, and this can only take you 5 to 10 minutes in the morning. Tell me that you don't have 5 to 10 minutes in the morning. I know we all do. And for the benefit of your brain, I am certain that you can, pay attention to these and go ahead and, and brighten your day. Now, I recommend stretching, and walking can be one of them. I'll tell you the one that I use, but light movement and stretches just starts getting the muscles activated. It starts getting that, activity and physical movement that will then activate your prefrontal cortex for thinking. Okay, so when there is no movement, there is very little thought. So movement really goes very positively with thinking. When I'm trying to think, I try to move. You see me moving a lot? Well, I'm a Latina too, so understand that, right? But in addition, I love to walk when I'm talking because it just helps in my thoughts. So moving in the morning and stretching out. Now, my secret weapon is a small trampoline at home, and I do 3 minutes of that. 3 minutes of just a bounce. And it has a whole bunch of other health benefits with your immune system and everything, but it just wakes up my body. And so it's really important to do that. Now, my trampoline, I have it right next to a window because the second one is exposure to light. So in the morning, make sure you're exposed to the sun. It really helps your circadian rhythm and helps your body kind of wake up. I don't know, I have a teenager and she always wants to have the shades closed, and that just builds serotonin. So I'm always like opening those windows because you need the light, okay? And one clear intention for the day, not 10, not 15, one clear intention. If your overall clear intention is there, then you are able to, increase not only your thinking, and how goal directed you are during the day, but let me tell you, the light in the morning is going to increase your blood flow. The movement in the morning is going to increase also your dopamine and your blood flow, and your prefrontal cortex is going to be ready to work. So before checking your phone, check into your brain. Does that make sense? Yes. Routine number 2, focus blocks. This is really easy to do, okay? So for your focus blocks, I tell you to work on only 25 to 45 minutes. If I don't work on 25 to 45 minutes, my brain it's very scattered. So for me, this is very important. And I use these. So every little a sticky note is a block of work. Okay. And so you can have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these, but let me try to get it in a place where the green is not showing behind. Let me show this one. Okay. And just write whatever task it is that you're going to work on, and then just paste them in the order you want to do them. You can even switch them out throughout the day if there's something that has changed, because we can be cognitively flexible. But 25 to 45 minutes, one task only at a time, one task at a time, and short resets in between. So I love to stand, to move. Even if I have a minute to go ahead and get on my trampoline for a minute, I'll do that. I even get my youngest one loves the trampoline, so she'll go and do it with me. She'll time each other, use a timer for this. It works every time. Why this works? Because it builds the neural networks endurance. Like it builds strong networks in your brain. It reduces cognitive fatigue, and it also strengthens attention circuits. So focusing, really improves with training. It's just like a muscle. If we do it again and again and again, it'll get stronger. And last but not least, okay, and this is my last one, here we go. Routine number 3 is brain recovery ritual. Make a ritual of how you're going to bed. The way that you're going to bed at night really resets your brain for how you're going to see your next day. So what have been just 5 minutes at night. You can do some exercises of gratitude. That's one of my favorites. If you're writing them, you will connect even more with that, parietal lobe of your brain. Action, right? Motor action activates cortex. Cortex activates prefrontal cortex for better thinking. And then reflection of your day. Just reflect on what went well. What would you do different the next day? And last but not least, do some calm breathing before going to bed. No TV, please, okay? It reduces cortisol and enhances your memory consolidation. So if you're studying for something new, if you're preparing for a meeting, this is the moment to have reviewed that and then go and do some deep breaths before you go to bed. So you can signal that nervous system in a quiet way and just kind of collect yourself and and get ready for all of that reconnection of the brain. And so, what you do before sleep really determines how your brain is going to rewire overnight. And so, I just want to tell you, this is what neuroplasticity begins with: one intentional repetition of events. Your brain is able to learn, you're able to train your brain to focus, to pay attention, to rest, to even get those time outs for the brain. But it's up to you to success. Success is not going to be about pushing harder. It's really going to be about training your brain smarter. And that's what I want to leave you with today. And so, better brains really create better decisions and create better life. That's why, if you use those facts that Michonne already shared with you, I think that that's how you're going to be able to, in a daily basis, do a challenge, a 7-day challenge, right? With those facts. And you're going to see how at the end of the week, you're going to start already feeling like there's new neural networks really building up and new opportunities for your life. And I thank you for the opportunity. This is where I end, but I hope that you're taking those routines into consideration and making your life better every day.
Thank you, Dr. Aponte. You always bring amazing information to us. And I really love that you give us like 3 tips, because what we know is that when people present and there's like all this information and we don't know what to do with it, our brain can have that cognitive overload that you were talking about. But I'm also glad that we're not stuck with the brain that we have, right? That neuroplasticity, things can change, but we have to take little steps to get there. So I'm going to hop in now to our next micro session, and that is about Gen Z. And this session is called How to Help Gen Z Not Just Survive, but Thrive. Now, some of you might be like, well, what do you mean about Gen Z? And listen, this really wasn't my session until early this morning. Like I shared with you earlier at 4:55, I found out that I would be teaching about Gen Z. And so I got up early and did some research and added to some of the things that I've already taught about. But I want to give you a little background because I think that that will help you. And you might want to get a pen out and you might even want to write some of this down. But when you think about different generations, they have these different names that go with them. So I'm going to give you the names. Are you ready? So you have your pen and you have your paper. What they called the greatest generation. That generation was born in 1901 and it goes until 1927, the greatest generation. Following the greatest generation is what we call the silent generation. And the silent generation was 1929 to 1945. Now, if you go back and you look at history, you understand some of the names and like why they would call certain generations with certain titles. But then we got to the next generation, which would be the baby boomers. And the baby boomers were born in 1946 and they go until 1964. So we may have some baby boomers here today that you're with us. Then the next generation is Generation X. And Generation X was born in 1965 and the window of time ends in 1980. That would be Generation X. Then I know many of you have heard this term millennials. Give me a yes in the comments if you've heard the term millennials. It was like something we would hear about on the news, like everywhere we'd go, millennials. And millennials, they were born in 1981 and it goes until 1996. Then in 1997, here comes the generation that we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to tell you why it's so important. In 1997, Generation Z, which we call Gen Z, that was when the first one was born, 1997, and it goes until 2010 on their birth years. Now, I'm going to give you the last two. Following that, in 2011, we had 2010, we had Generation Alpha, and that goes to 2024, and then followed by Generation Beta, 2025 to 2039. So you can kind of see the progression. But within those different brackets of time, we see different things happening and big events that are happening. So let's talk about why Gen Z is such an important piece to the puzzle that we all need to talk about. The people that are in Gen Z right now are 13 years old to 28 years old. That means they're either finishing middle school, starting high school. They're in college, they're figuring out their career, and they may even be like the new nurses. They may be new school teachers that are out there. It's a big age range, 13 to 28. But why is this generation so important to focus on? And this is one of the biggest reasons. They are what we would call digital natives. And what that means is that they were born into a world where they think that we always had technology. Now, I mean, we're aging ourselves if we say, I remember the day that the telephone plugged into the wall. Does anyone remember that? And you hoped that you were home when the phone rang if you were wanting to talk to someone. And you might have even had a typewriter. Anyone with me? I mean, I took typing in school, okay? So if you had a typing class, anyone there? You're like, yes, that was you. And these kids are like, what's a typewriter? They've always had computers. They've always had like social media. These things have surrounded them. And so now when we talk about Gen Z, we know that this is the up and coming generation that is going to be leading our country. That's who they are. And when we also look at Gen Z, we have to understand that this group, when we think about the brain, their prefrontal cortex that Dr. Ponte was talking about earlier, it is still developing. It is not like it has arrived. Okay, so we need to understand that fact. That is really important. Matter of fact, we say that most brains are not really developed until 25. Okay, and yet we tell kids, hey, when you're 18, you're ready to go. I worked in a university and I worked in student conduct. And let me tell you, some of those 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they would do things that you were like, oh no, I don't really think maybe you were thinking about that. So let me give you a little bit more information. When you look at the human brain between 0 to 1, 50% of the brain develops between 0 and 1. That's why it is so important for little tiny babies that we're reading to them, we're talking to them, all of those different pieces. But between 0 and 3, we call those the golden years for the brain. Because during the golden years, 80 to 85% of the brain is forming. Can you believe that? 80 to 85%. So that's why you're wanting to teach kids colors and shapes and give them experiences and take them places and read them books and talk to them. But then by the time you get to the next age range of 3 to 5, well, in that bracket of time, it gets to 90%. And then we're just continuing to build that prefrontal cortex of the brain. And it's so important. A lot of times you might hear the word or words executive function. We're building that executive function. That all has to do with the prefrontal cortex of the brain. So people have said, well, when is the brain the sharpest? I mean, let's just take a little guess. Like, put an age in the chat. When do you think the brain is actually the sharpest? What do you think? Is it when they're 1? Is it 3? Is it 25? Is it 50? Anyone have any guesses? Michael said always. We have 30, 8 to 12, teenagers. Okay, we have a lot of different guesses. Someone said 12. Here's the answer. There's really no specific time that it's the sharpest, but it's focused in a different way. Think about this. From 18 to 25, we see that the brain has the fastest processing. It can really process things super fast. Matter of fact, you might remember that when you were younger, that your brain could just like boom, like you could remember something and the brain was processing super fast. So the reaction time is quick. The agility is quick on the brain. But when we get to our late 20s and early 30s, now it's memory and integration. We're very sharp in that area. There's learning efficiency, lots of problem solving. So what happens when we get to our 40s and our 50s? Well, this is like the perfect lead-in when we get to our next speaker, because between our 40s and 50s, we have high emotional intelligence. Or so we should. We may not, right? But we should. We are capable of having very high emotional intelligence in our 40s and 50s. We have more impulse control. Why? Because we've lived life and we've started putting some of these things in order. We also have more social reasoning. But when someone gets into their 60s and 70s, well, that's when they have a lot of wisdom. Have you ever talked to like someone that an older person and you're just like, wow, the wisdom that pours from them. You just want to hear one more story. or how they think about something. Because they have a lot of pattern recognition, they have high vocabulary, they've lived a lot of life. And so we have crystallized knowledge the older that they get. But each season of our life is a sharp season with our brain. And because we have that neuroplasticity, we can do all kinds of things, including like learning the piano when we're 38, right? Right, Regina? I'm like, there's a lot of different things we can do. So let's hop back over really quick before I turn it over to Regina on emotional intelligence. And I want to talk quickly about Gen Z. Like, what are some of their strengths and what are some of their weaknesses? So here's what we know. Some of the strengths of Gen Z is they have a lot of digital fluency. Matter of fact, if you are stuck and you don't know what to do with social media or maybe AI, this generation, they know. They have a lot of digital fluency. They also have strong value alignment. Whatever they believe, they truly believe, and they're going to stick to it. We see that within Gen Z, within that generation. They have an entrepreneurial mindset. They want to be able to do things on their own, create their own businesses, come up with different ideas. And so they have an entrepreneurial mindset. They're also open to mental health. And for a long time, many generations were not open to mental health. But this generation, Gen Z, is very open to mental health. And they're also willing to do this. And you give me a big yes in all capital letters if you know that this is right. They are willing to question systems and ask the big question of why, right? And I mean, that is this generation. So now when I take those things and I put it all together, I can also say, hey, there's some things they struggle with. And it's important for me to understand this because I need to know how to work with them, right? I need to know, like, if they're in my family, or if I have someone younger in a business that's working with me, or if I'm a principal or a teacher, what are their strengths, but what are some of the things that they struggle with? Well, because they have had so much technology around them, they do not have a long attention span. That is one of the biggest things that when you go back and you're talking about neuroplasticity with this Gen Z generation, their attention span is very short. They've watched a lot of reels, a lot of quick videos. They're used to getting things fast and quick. They also are the generation that has had increased anxiety, depression, and emotional overload. If you think about it, this generation all came through COVID-19, every single one of them. But also because the brain can get addicted to all of the digital pieces that are around them in social media, it can overload the brain. And so then all of a sudden, what they thought was fun really has overloaded to the point that they have anxiety. So that's another thing that they struggle with. They have low retention and recall. Now they're saying this next generation could be very interesting too because of AI. And although AI, and we're going to talk about that later, can be helpful, there also should be some things that we put in as like little warnings or like, hey, let's be aware. We want to be aware of it. And then they often feel isolated, even though they have access to the world all the time. They feel isolated. Matter of fact, if you know a Gen Z person, they may do something like this. My daughter's Gen Z, and she will call me and she wants to stay on the phone with me while she does her work at home. And kids will do that. They want maybe just someone to be on the phone with them. It could even be a friend while they do homework. And they're not even really talking to them the whole time. It's not like we used to have phone conversations back and forth. They just want to know that someone is with them. And so it's a very different way of doing life than how we did life. So when they're referred to these children, like with we want to give like the brain terms, I want you to think of these terms. You might even want to write these terms down. They often have what we call cognitive overload. It's too much. Like there's too many things coming to them at one time. And so then it can tumble down into like anxiety and depression, or maybe I don't recall something because there were too many things going on at one time. Also, we're seeing accelerated cognitive aging within the brain. That's another thing that has been seen in Gen Z. And you may have heard it more into this term of brain rot, right? But don't think that Gen Z is not aware of it, because Gen Z is also doing some incredible things to say, hey, I'm not going to even have social media. right? Or maybe they have young children now, these 2 and 3 and 4 year olds, and they're like, they're not going to get to watch TV shows. So they also are developing this awareness. And when I can take like Gen X or boomers and I can mix it with Gen Z, you actually have something very beautiful because now we can blend communication with flexible tools, right? We have like maybe the wisdom of the past blended with the digital pieces from today. There's always the piece of two-way mentoring. I might be able to mentor them with some life
No, I just have the call
directions,
in my ear.
but they might be able to help me with maybe more of the pieces of helping me with Zoom or helping me with creating, like videos, like all of these different things. So there's this two-way mentoring. If you see it like that, instead of I'm teaching them, that we're working together, it can be really beautiful. And so when it's paired together, you're going to see success. And so I want you to keep those things in mind when you think about Gen Z and that we really can work together hand in hand. So I hope that helps you today as you think about Gen Z. And now I want to introduce you to my friend Regina Bryan. And Regina, she is like the queen of emotional intelligence. Like she knows all about it. And she is going to be sharing with us right now. I'm excited. I always love to hear her speak. And I also love that, like, see, the minute she pops on, she has this big smile. And she's like that all the time. She just brings joy wherever she goes. I'm like, if you want a little joy, you have to be around Regina. So, Regina, we are thankful that you're here today and we're excited to learn from you.
Oh my gosh, Michonne, thank you for that warm introduction. I'm excited to be here today. Happy holidays and Happy New Year to everyone. So today we're going to talk about EQ in 3, 2, 1. And so 3 is for 3 strategies. That's what I'm going to give you today. 2 is the 2 systems, the heart and the head, and 1 intentional choice, because it really is up to each and every one of us. So let's start with the question. Raise your hand if you have ever had your emotions get the best of you. Ever? Anybody? Is it just me? Of course, we all have, right? Because we're human. Emotions are, please don't miss this, emotions are the biggest part of what makes us human. We are not creatures of logic. We are creatures of emotion. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 400, get this, 400 emotional experiences a day. And we're either managing our emotions or we're at the mercy of them. And the quality of our work, our relationships, and our lives depend upon our ability to manage them well. And that is why emotional intelligence is essential. So now you know that our whole lives are tied into this. If anyone asks you, why EQ, why emotional intelligence? That's why. So what exactly is emotional intelligence, or EQ as I like to call it? And how do you get more of it? How do we raise it up? Well, I'm going to give you the definition that I work with. And it really is, if you Google emotional intelligence, it really is sort of a standard definition. Emotional intelligence is the practice, and I like to call it a practice because we get a lot of opportunities to practice every day, don't we? It is the practice of recognizing and understanding your emotions, the emotions of others, and then using that awareness to effectively manage your behavior and your relationships. So if I followed you around for a week, not listening to your intentions or hearing you explain things, if I just followed you around and watched your behavior, what is the story that I would gather about you? What's that story that I would gather? You see, EQ gives us a two-way mirror. The first mirror that we look into is how we handle ourselves. And the second mirror, of course, is how we handle other people. And so when we're brave enough to look at both of these, we're going to start to see the patterns that drive our relationships, that drive our results. And that's where the awareness and the growth begins. So I want everybody to sit back for a minute and think about these last couple of weeks, right? We just celebrated Christmas, the holidays, New Year. And if you had to rate yourself on how you handled you and others during this holiday period on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being Oh my gosh, I was in the driver's seat of my emotions the entire time. I did it. I acted with awareness and intention, or down to one, meaning my emotions kind of, they kind of took me over. They were in the driver's seat. I felt reactive, rushed, and on autopilot. Where would you rate yourself? If you had to give yourself a rating from 5 to 1 over the holidays of how you handled yourself, I'm so glad people are putting them into the chat. If you're brave enough, put it out there for us, because I'm going to share with you mine. This is where I rate myself. I gave myself a 2, you guys. I gave myself a 2. And I gave myself a 2 because I learned a little bit, just a little bit. I still see some coming in. You guys are better than I am. I see some 4s, 3.9. Love it, Michael. 3.5, some 3s. You guys are awesome. I gave myself a 2 because I had a little mini meltdown. So as many of you know, if you know me, you know that this last year and a half, a year and 4 months or so, we have been remodeling our home. And it's wonderful that it's pretty much done. Now we're in that stage of putting it all together. The new furniture, by the way, you have to wait three months for in some cases, the old furniture, the cleaning out the garage, the storage unit, we're putting everything together. And we were going to get a lot of work done over the holidays. And I had a mini meltdown with my husband because I did not think he was doing his part. So I lashed out a little bit. And I regret that. And bless his heart, how could I even think that I have who I think is the greatest husband on the planet. He works really hard. He has a full-time job. We have a pizza business. He's the kindest person I know. And when I went back and reflected back to why did I lash out at him, it wasn't about him at all. I was frustrated with me because I didn't think I was doing my part. And I took it out on the wrong person. And so we've all had that happen, haven't we? We've all have not only had our emotions take us out, but we've also misdirected some of our emotions to other people. And so let's talk about 3 strategies that will help you raise your EQ. So strategy number 1 is the power of the pause. Just pausing. Just not saying a word, right? When you feel your emotions rising, when you feel yourself getting upset, our gut instinct almost is to lash out, is to express that. What if you didn't? What if you decided not to speak, not to do anything, not to react, just pause and save yourself the regret of saying and doing things that you don't mean? And let us know in the chat, give me a yes or a no if in the last month or 2, you've said something or done something that you've regretted. I hope I'm not the only one. And we solve that. Yeah, Linda. Yep, we've done some things, Diana, and we regret them. And when we pause, we can eliminate that regret. We solve the problem. Pausing really is the most powerful and the most overlooked skill in emotional intelligence. And I think it's because it's simple that we take it for granted. That pause is really the moment between the stimulus and the response. It's that tiny little moment. It feels like not even a real second, right? And it's the moment where emotional intelligence, our EQ, shows up or it doesn't. And anytime I think about the power of the pause, I think about that great, wonderful Viktor Frankl quote, right? Where he says, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. That just touches my soul every single time I read it or speak it. You have, please hear me, you have complete power over your response. You have the power, get this, you have the power to not respond to anything another person says to you. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? We have the power not to respond. And if we choose not to use that pause, and if we don't do the pause, we react on autopilot. It's the old patterns, the old stories, that old emotional wiring. And when you do pause, even just for a second, you interrupt that emotional hijack. You create enough space, just maybe enough space, to go from your old reactions into a new intention, a new response. And in terms of EQ, that is the gateway. That's the gateway to awareness. That is the gateway to building emotional intelligence. And that's how we stop our emotions from running the show. Because isn't it easy? Isn't it really easy just to lash out, just to let somebody have it. That takes no work. That takes absolutely no effort. You may have someone in your life, a friend or a family member, an acquaintance, someone that you can think of that loses it really quickly or frequently. Just that person that you know that you're around them and you know they're just so easily triggered. I think that the reason that happens to people is because they feel they have no choice, because the stimulus and the response happens in the blink of an eye. And it's not that we don't have the choice. It's not that that individual who lashes out doesn't have a choice. It's that they haven't practiced. So when we see other human beings freaking out or flipping out, especially routinely and regularly, they just haven't practiced. And if I had paused with my husband, I think of myself as a pretty IQ person, but listen, we're all human. So all of you who scored 4s and 5s and 3s, God bless you. That's a great way to start and kick off the holidays and be in the holidays. But our emotions are energy in motion. So they're fluid, right? We're always going through emotional cycles. So we can go up and down at any time if we're not aware. And had I paused with my husband, had I just not lashed out when I felt being triggered by piles of stuff that we still haven't gotten together in this house, if I just would have paused, I would have slowed down my emotions and not lashed out at him. So here's the strategy, right? The next time someone triggers you, say nothing. Or as Mel Robbins says, let them freak out, let them flip out, let them do whatever they want, let them. And then let me, as she always says, turns it back on us, let me choose how I'm going to respond. So you see, when our emotions get hot and heated, our muscles tighten, right? Our heart rate increases. The brain shifts away from logic and clarity. It just all shuts down, that prefrontal cortex that Mimi and Michon have mentioned. It just shuts down. It just goes away. And when we pause, we actually open up that space for that prefrontal cortex to come back online. And one of the greatest ways to do that pause is really through breathing. And I know a lot of you are in the EL community, and you know that we have a breathwork challenge going on this week. Take part in breathing, my friends, because if you can't just pause on your own, think about what can I do in this moment. Since you want to lash out, instead just breathe, because it opens up that calming system that we have. And we don't breathe. And this is the greatest thing about breathing before you speak. You don't breathe to calm down after you react. You breathe to create the pause that prevents that reaction in the first place. I'm going to get through these other couple strategies quickly. The second one is naming your emotions. This, you guys, on top of everything that Michon and Mimi have given us about the brain, this is science. When you can name your emotion, name what you're feeling, you actually take control to lower the volume of that emotion. Isn't that something? If I just would have named and said, gosh, I'm not angry at my husband, I'm really frustrated at myself. I'm sort of frustrated with the thing that we've got going on here in the house. We're not pulling it all together fast enough. So if I just would have slowed that down, it really kind of brings everything back to center, because here's what happens in this process. The amygdala detects a threat and it reacts fast and emotional. And when we take the time to just name our emotions, if I could think, gosh, am I angry? No, I'm not angry. I'm frustrated. Just by doing that, I'm calming the brain down. The prefrontal cortex is coming back online. That's the part of it that helps me think better. And I'm moving from reaction to regulation. And here's the deeper truth about all of these, as I mentioned these couple strategies to you about pausing and about breathing, naming emotions. All the things we're doing here, it's not to stop our emotions. It's not, because nothing in emotional intelligence is about suppressing emotion. Really, the goal of emotional intelligence is about suppressing our inappropriate reaction to them. It's about honoring our emotions, allowing ourselves to feel them without allowing them to run the show. And that third strategy in developing emotional intelligence is choosing curiosity over certainty. Boy, that's our brain's default mode. Our brain loves judgment. Our brain loves to know, it loves to be certain. And we go into that judgment mode, not because we're negative people or critical, but because the brain is just wired for efficiency, for safety. And so we're constantly scanning our environment, we're categorizing. We need to make sense fast of what's happening around us, especially with other people. So we judge fast. We assume we know other people's intention, and we just start to make up stories and fill in that gaps. And emotional intelligence begins when we notice this, when we notice I'm judging and not allowing that judgment to be our final answer. That's when EQ is coming online for us. So we don't manage our own emotions by judging them, or manage or try to understand others by judging them. We do that by understanding them, by creating that curiosity. When I feel a certain way, isn't that interesting? When you feel that way and thinking, gosh, what might be going on for them? See, we change certainty, we exchange it for curiosity by just asking simple questions. Isn't that interesting? When you zoom out, emotional intelligence works as this big full system that I can't possibly go into fully today. When we align our self-awareness with noticing what's going on with us, with our social awareness, understanding what's going on for other people, we really can wrap our arms around this in a way that gives us power and control, not just over our own responses, but model that for others. Model that for others. So if emotional intelligence ever feels complicated for you, think about 3, 2, 1. Think about 3 quick strategies I can do. I can pause and breathe. I can name what I'm feeling. And then I can go into curiosity by thinking, isn't this interesting? Isn't it interesting I'm feeling this way, or somebody else is feeling this way? They're not big dramatic changes that you're looking for in a day. They're just small intentional moments. And over time, these are the type of moments that can become patterns. And as Dr. Mimi was saying, that neuroplasticity, we repeat the pausing, we repeat the breathing, we can recreate our lives, and we can newly shape our relationships and everything the way we would want them to be. So that's our EQ in 3, 2, 1. Michonne, I think I went almost a minute over. I hope I didn't. But that's EQ in 3, 2, 1, everybody.
You did great. Thank you so much. And I love the strategy, the 3, 2, 1. That is perfect. So thank you so much for sharing. And next we have Maria. And Maria, she's a great friend. I haven't known her that long. I think maybe a little bit over a year, but she's just like a steady friend. Like she's going to be there. She's consistent, right? You don't find a lot of people like that in life. And so I'm like, there is no one better than Maria to share about goals because she models it in what she does. And so thank you for your friendship, Maria, but also for just modeling doing things consistently, even when things are difficult. You keep going. So I'm excited to hear from you. And Regina, truthfully, I think I'm the one who went over 2 minutes, and then you had 2 minutes. So Maria, take your 15 minutes, okay? And then we will
Thank you,
finish up with
Lisa.
AI. And so I'm excited to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm so glad our paths have crossed. This has been an amazing event. I love all the golden wisdom and nuggets of information that each presenter presented here. And it's an honor to be here and talk about the goal setting, but not just a standard goal setting, but how to create that definitive plan. Before we dive into the details of this, raise your hand if you just recently, now we're 5 days into the new year, if you have a goal. Or in the past, like think about okay, you created a goal, raise your hand. Great, yeah, I see some hands here. Well, perhaps like Michonne mentioned earlier, the statistics is pretty staggering. 93% of people don't go with a goal, or it doesn't happen over the next months or two. It just only 7% prevail. And it's not that they aim too high. It's not that their standards are too high, but it's because they really did not take the time to create that plan and write it down and make it very definitive so they can hit the target. Aim small, miss small. So today I would love to share with you how you potentially can create that goal and crush your goals and make that 2026 the best year yet. Let me take you on a journey. There is a note in my wallet that I've never thrown before. Matter of fact, I almost threw it away twice. The first time when I graduated from college and I was cleaning my room. The second time when I moved to the US. But I'm so glad I didn't. I still kept it, and it's still in my wallet. It was back in 6th grade. I was in middle school when I was struggling. And I mean struggling, literally, I was struggling in many ways. I was failing English. I still remember sitting in my room, crying, studying days and nights, and asking myself this question: will I ever get this? What's wrong with me? And no one answered until someone did. It was Mrs. Mamedova, my English teacher. She was the kind of teacher who had this fashion jewelry, and she looked so perfectly organized and she was very strict. And she smelled like evergreen trees. One time after class, she stopped me and asked me to come to her desk. And she handed me this note, this folded note that I still have. And the note said, "You are not your grade. You are not your past. You are the story and the goal you choose to crush next." And that note, that one person who truly believed in me, changed the trajectory of my life. And here I am with you presenting from New York State years later. So how do we create that? I wanted to share that big shift happened with me back in 6th grade when I realized that I needed to create a definitive goal. And definitive goal has 3 characteristics. Number 1, it is clear. Number 2, it's strategic. It aligns with your direction and with the vision you have. Number 3, it's action-based. A goal with no action is just a dream, and a dream is just a wish. So it has to be action-based, absolutely, nothing more, nothing else. So now I'd like to take a quick moment, and I'd like you to write one goal that you have. It doesn't have to be big, audacious. Maybe it's a goal for this week. Just small goal. Write it down in one simple sentence. Now, there is also, okay, probably you wrote it down. I hope you did. And take a look at it, at this one clear sentence, and ask yourself, is it really clear? Do I get it? Is it strategic? Is it aligned with where I want to go? And is it action-based? Can I take action today or tomorrow? Now, potentially, this is all great, yes, but still the statistics, let's face it, staggering. Only 7 to 8% from behavioral science and executive coaching perspective, there is only 7 to 8% who actually have the goals achieved. So what we need structure. But before we dive into structure, I love how Mishan earlier today mentioned the car alignment, how our car needs to be aligned and all the lights need to be in check before we go and really can start it. So it's important to have our goal aligned. And I want to mention to you 3 things that can potentially derail, that can create that fog, almost like anti-fog lamp. When we know that these anti-fog lamps exist and we can turn the light, we can potentially keep our goal clear and go for it. So the 3 derailing strategies here that exist is number 1, self-check on the values. Is your goal really aligned with your values? But sometimes the goal cannot be aligned with if your value is your family, your kids, your vacation, going places together. If it's not in integrity or if it's not against your health goal, it will just drag you. It will slow you down and you will feel that internal pressure that it's not going to happen. You might not be aware about it, but nonetheless, it's there. So first derailing is alignment with action, with your values, sorry. The second strategy here is it really, really clear? Is it in alignment with your vision? Now, a goal without a vision and without a purpose is just, again, creates a lot of distraction. And the third strategy here is if derailing, if it's really in your calendar. Now, nowadays, we can easily overpopulate our calendar. Let's be honest. There is so much noise. It seems like your calendar is busy. It looks like it's just overloaded. But truth be told, is it in alignment with where you want to be and where you need to go? The time, emotional constraints. Regina just shared amazing information about emotional intelligence. Is it really overloading you? Because this can create unnecessary stress, unnecessary burnout, and it can just derail you and distract you. And I did mention this early, but in the second phase, it's also that we have seasons. We have seasons in life, and potentially sometimes we can force and go against the law of rhythm that we need to go for this goal, but potentially there is a caretaking need. It cannot be aligned, and it does not equal your growth season. Or business growth does not go together with your low health, or maybe you're struggling. You need to just unplug yourself and maybe take a break, and it's okay. Couple days, several days, a week, whatever it takes. Don't force it and just go with the law of rhythm. Now, these are the three derailing mechanisms that I just shared with you. Now, I wanted to bring it to the structure. How do you create the structure? And I would like to share this framework that I personally use, and I've seen it with my clients who quadrupled their business over the past year. It's very effective. It's called DARE framework. How to create a definitive goal. D in DARE stands for be very direct and decisive. Write a clear statement of what it is that you want to achieve. As some of you know, there's quite a few members of the Empowered Living community. Our amazing mentor, Paul Martinelli, says, what you write, you invite. So writing down, and I believe Dr. Morales Ponte mentioned earlier, writing is very effective and powerful. So write this down, one directive goal and decisive action. Write it in a simple sentence, very simple. The second in their framework stands for A. A is for aligned action. Does your action, would it align with your values, with your vision? If it doesn't align, potentially it's a distraction. If your calendar is overloaded, look at it and filter things out. Maybe some of those need to be taken off the calendar. Some of the appointments are a phone call. Maybe you need to just re-strategize and pivot and make sure that it's aligned, an aligned action, double A actually there. R in DARE stands for reassure, and make sure that you reassess your accountability and your habits. Are your current habits serving you well? Are they in the alignment of a person you need to become to achieve your goal? Are they really who you need to be? And reassess and see who is the person who is your mentor or maybe your coach. Is there somebody speaking to you? Is there somebody holding you accountable on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? Maybe it could be your friend, a colleague, or your coach if you have one. And E in the DARE framework stands for execute with expectation. Sometimes people get caught up in this, I'm not ready yet. Maybe I need to prepare more. Oh, maybe I need to attend another training. Oh, maybe I need to just wait till a better time arrives. No, execute as if you're already there. And that execution with anticipation and expectation creates momentum. It builds your confidence. It reassures you that you absolutely can do it. Because truth be told, we're fully resourced to do what we want to do and create what we need to create when we align ourselves and write this simple action. So now I'd like to go back again and have you write one sentence, one clear action, and one accountability support. Identify one person. We'll take a few seconds as a break. Write it down or put in the chat if you completed it. Say, yes, I did it. So one sentence, one clear action, and one accountability and support person. All right. Okay, great. I see Goldsman be clear. Yes, thank you, Mishan, for putting this in the chat box. When everybody is done, please put in the chat if you can do that. Just yes, done. I'd love to see it. So we can really move forward and put it to action, what we're learning here all together. Great. Thanks, Michonne. Michonne is done. Sandra, excellent. So happy you could join us, Sandra. Great to see you here. Shar, yes, yes, excellent. Okay. Yeah, so their framework that I just shared with you, I'll present a slide here later and you can take a screenshot or maybe scan the QR code. And it's a 2-page file that I would encourage you to do on a daily basis, weekly basis, because it helps you reassess, realign yourself. And again, what you write, you invite. And truth be told, from the behavioral science standpoint, people who made their goals active, public, and voluntary, those commitments, they truly move the needle forward and make things happen. So if you are the person that is 100% committed to make a definitive plan and make it happen this year, or maybe within the first quarter of the year, absolutely the DARE framework would help you do that. And don't forget, important aspect here is also reflection. We don't want to get caught up in hamster wheel running. Absolutely, it's important to pause and reflect. So sometimes people create goals and then the fog catches and it's easy to get caught up in the drift. And drifting is no fun. It's actually waste your energy, you waste your momentum, you feel depleted, you feel just like you're not in alignment. So please be very intentional and set up those goals and I would highly recommend to use the DARE framework that I'll share shortly to help you step into your vision, step up and thrive and make the 2026 your best year yet. Michonne, I'm not sure if I'm ahead of the time or over time. I forgot to time myself, but I'll quickly share the screenshot here. And so people can take a look or take a screenshot. And anyhow, thanks for having me present today. I hope you got some golden wisdom and it helps you start your January months with big hurrah and make it happen.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, and for even giving us a little QR code. Maria, that was wonderful. Like everything that you shared. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Do you guys see my screen? Am I
Yes.
sharing it? Or okay, great.
Uh-huh. Did everyone get it? If you can just put yes once you've taken the QR code, like a picture of it, and then make sure you're setting your goals with a definitive plan. If you don't have a plan, you will end up as being one of the statistics for the year, right? I mean, we all have like these things. I even wrote down in my journal, I can wish, I can want, I can even wonder, like, will this happen? But unless I work, like work is the key. You got to put the work behind it, those actionable steps. So thank you, Maria. I appreciate it. And we are going to go right now and talk about AI. I mean, that's something that a lot of people are talking about right now. And Dylan is going to hop on and share a little bit with you, and then I'm going to share a little bit as well. But AI is something that is not going to go away, right? I mean, some of you might be like, oh, I don't know what I think about it. But there's some good things with it, and it can be good for your brain, and it can also be negative. It can go both ways. And so, Dylan, I'm going to let you take it from here and just share some of the ways that it can help us, it can support us as a leader, and how it also could maybe have some concerns. So it's all yours.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really excited to be with you all today and have a little bit of time to talk about AI or artificial intelligence. Obviously, it's becoming a really prevalent thing in our world. And as I was preparing for the session, I started thinking about a movie. Some of you may be familiar with it, maybe not. But in 2008, Disney and Pixar released a movie called Wall-E. And if you haven't watched it, just give you a quick little synopsis. Basically all of the human race had polluted Earth and had gone to live on this ship where they were immersed in technology and basically lost all of their function. They didn't walk, they did not think for themselves. Everything was fed to them through a screen. And it really got me thinking about where we're at today. We live in a very different time. Obviously, for me personally, I'm considered a millennial, a millennial, and so basically, when I'm kind of thinking about myself, I've grown up around technology. I remember my dad being a cybersecurity engineer and getting to build computers and seeing how they worked, and I've obviously seen through all the different years how technology has continued progressing. And now we've got AI. And many of you are probably familiar with AI, different tools, whether it be ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini. We could go down the list. These tools are absolutely incredible. The things that you're able to do with these tools is incredible, but there's also some major warnings that we have to be really careful with when we're looking at artificial intelligence. So really, I want to kind of start by talking about some of the wins, right? There's some really great things. I've mentioned my background is in marketing and digital design. It really has really created an ability for us to increase our focus and efficiency. So really what that would look like is being able to take minute tasks that we are typically, engaged with on a daily basis and being able to take those things and process them in a different way. I will say for my own workflow, when I'm doing work, I'm oftentimes building out different types of assets or management strategies or frameworks, all within a chat model or some type of AI model. It also can provide helpful insights. I don't know. I know that we're kind of moving into this era now where, even ChatGPT has its own search engine now, right? So basically what I mean, when we used to want to look for something, obviously we have everything right at our fingertips, right? With our phones, being able to find the best restaurants, all those types of things. But now with the ability that artificial intelligence or AI has provided us, we're able to really drill down without having to spend a lot of time. I mean, I remember back in the day when I would write a research paper in school, I spent a lot of time looking at different links and different articles and reading through different web pages and really being able to drill in. Well, now I can really program my AI bot to basically go out and look for the best resources for me. So it can obviously provide us a great benefit when we're looking at different types of materials, trying to learn and type learning to grow. Along with that, I would say the third piece is obviously that learning and development piece. These two kind of go hand in hand. Obviously, the helpful insights, the learning developments. It's easier now than ever to learn a new skill or task, right? So if there's something that you're wanting to learn how to do, like let's say you want to learn how to do a mail merge in Microsoft Word. Obviously, it's an older skill, but you can go into Chat GPT, into Grok, and it'll give you a step-by-step synopsis on how to do it. It's really an incredible time that we're living in that we've got tools just like this. But at the same point, it's important to kind of look at these tools as tools, right? Oftentimes, I really think that really a lot of like students, a lot of employees are looking at these things now as a crutch to carry them through, but they are just simply tools. And so it's really important to keep that perspective. The dangers that I really see with artificial intelligence is first critical thinking. I kind of gave that example where, back in the day when I would be in school and I had to really think about what I was looking for in a paper, right? Read, study, and figure those types of things out. I can now take a lot of that thinking out of the puzzle, right? I can just go, okay, I can just ask one simple question and it'll give me exactly what I want. One thing we have to remember when we're thinking about AI is a computerized model. It is programmed to think. So for us, whether you're thinking about your values, you're thinking about any of those types of things, it is not always going to be perfectly aligned with the way that you think or the way that you should be thinking. It takes that critical thinking out of the puzzle, or it can. So it's really important, it's kind of like thinking about the park, the teeter-totter, right? Finding that perfect balance, understanding, hey, it is a great tool, but at the same point, understanding that there is that concern with maybe our critical thinking. Another piece of that I would say is limiting the community and connectivity. So I'm going to go back to my movie WALL-E that I was talking about at the very, very beginning of the movie. By the end, we kind of see that humankind starts learning, oh, we have lost out on this connection. We've lost out on community because I've been so immersed with a screen. There is nothing like human connection. It cannot be replaced with a device or with the software or with an intelligence model or anything like that. Human connection is a very important, critical piece of our lives because it shapes who we are. And we definitely need that human connection. And so I do think that that is one piece when we're thinking about screen time and artificial intelligence, just keeping in mind that it cannot replace human connectivity. The last thing that I think really is a danger with artificial intelligence, which we just have to keep in mind, is that it can blur our responsibility and accountability. All of us have accountabilities as leaders, as people to, do the things that we have to do. It's really easy now, I would say, in our world, especially when we're kind of, and you can kind of get back into your into kind of that piece where I was talking about with your values, where artificial intelligence can really now write your emails. It can do all of those different types of things. It can kind of take away from, who you were designed to be. And so when you're really thinking about ethical standards, those types of things, it's really important that you're looking at artificial intelligence again as a tool. It is not the truth. It's not perfect truth. Can it provide great insights? Absolutely. But I do think that it's so important that we learn that really important balance because at the end of the day, we are responsible for what we do. We do crave and desire human connection. And we all need to learn, right? We all do need to have that critical thinking ability to be able to think for ourselves, to be able to learn, to study, to grow, to sharpen our brains and our minds so that we can be the best that we can be. So those would be some of the major things that I would see as again our positives and our negatives. So I'll just kind of go over them one more time. So I would say the three ways, and I think they're in the chat too, the three ways that AI can support you as a leader and as a person is one, increasing your focus and efficiency. Two, providing you helpful insights. And three, supporting learning and development. The three places where I would say, again, just to keep in mind, and again, just kind of remember that this is a tool, is A, remember that it can reduce your critical thinking skills. If you think of it as a crutch over as a tool, it can definitely prohibit you from your critical thinking. The second piece is that human connection, building community. AI does not have the ability to really have human connection. It is a computer at the end of the day. And the third one is blurring responsibility and accountability. I think when we learn to take the positive and the negative, and being able to find a perfect balance in between, we can definitely leverage our AI to be a great benefit to us in our personal lives, in our work, being able to help us automate systems and even make our lives easier. I'm just going to give you just a quick little thing that I did the other day with AI that was just super duper cool and really was able to kind of stretch where I was at. I'm really starting to get more into cooking this year. And so what I did is I went in and put in all the different spices and foods that I had in my freezer that I needed to get rid of. And it went and helped me make all kinds of recipes that I was able to go and make, right? Again, it wasn't something that was going to prohibit my critical thinking. It was something that actually helped me learn and grow. And so there are those pieces where it can be a great tool for us when we look at it simply as a tool. I really believe that AI it's really going to continue. Obviously, it's ramping up. It's bigger than what we've ever seen before, but we're going to continue seeing all kinds of major advancements with AI. And obviously, it can be a great tool for us as leaders and just people in general. So those would be my two things. Remember, maintain a balanced view.
Thank you, Dylan. I know that we could talk about AI all day long, but I think it was just enough to make us start thinking a little bit going into the new year. I want to loop it all the way back, even to what Dr. Aponte was teaching us about neuroplasticity and that prefrontal cortex, because the minute that we lose human connection, it affects the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And so where you talked about the balance and having everything being very balanced, that is key. And so just that is just a little brain tip here at the end. I hope that you remember all the different things that we have focused on today, whether it be neuroplasticity or Maria talking about the goals or the 3-2-1, Regina, that was fabulous and very clever. I love that. I hope that you'll remember what we talked about at the beginning today about the facts about you. And I thought about it that if you said, "Hey, I'm really good. I like eat all these healthy foods," you could change the F on the facts about you to finances. Like, how are your finances, right? So there's a lot of different ways when you're goal setting, which connects back over to what Maria was teaching us about. There's like so many things that are intertwined in what we taught today. And so I hope that you'll really take time to think about some of these things. We're going to be coming together more often. What I would love to hear in the chat is what you have as a takeaway for today. What was something that you really loved? And then I want you also to tell us something that you would like to learn about in the future. So you could put today and then write like one little thing and then put future and put one thing that you would like us to cover in the future because we want to be a community that learns and grows together. And we are so thankful that you're all here. And let me tell you, there were so many people that could not join today. It was their first day back at work. But I'm glad that you were able to join and that you were here. And now we're going to open it up. If you'll put those things in the comments, we would greatly appreciate it. Again, something that's a takeaway for you, something that is now, and then something for the future that you would like to learn about. And then I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the Q&A. And we probably can go, let's see, Dylan, if you're able to put everyone, like we take it out of speaker mode, I might be able to do that too. Let's see if I can do it. There we go. All right. Any questions today? Like something that you were thinking about as we were sharing? Anything that you have a question about? We either have a quiet group or a group that they like to ask like certain questions, and we're all here for it. Dr. Ponte is. Many of us call her Mimi, so you might hear people say Mimi, and same person. Regina's here. Maria, I'm here. Any questions today? All right, we are getting some different little things in the comments. Love the part with the facts. Linda said that. Also, Nancy said the focus blocks were really good for her and wanting to know more about the morning brain activation. I'll tell you what, I can sit on a call with Dr. Aponte for like an hour. We did one on brain gym one time. I still think about that when I'm like, she had us with these little balls that are weighted and like these different things that you can do. And we talked about bilateral integration. There's like so many cool things you can learn to up level your brain.
There is so much, and actually, I believe I have like a couple of those brain gym videos in the YouTube channel. So there's a YouTube channel called Happy Brain, Happy Life. I have a few of those in there that you can go find. But yes, the morning activation, and actually, of course, we call it morning activation, but really, you can do this several times in the day. I would say you should do it several times in the day. Take your time, and it can be a 5-minute ritual if you want to call it that, right? But it can be a very short amount of time, but very purposeful for you to refocus yourself. And movement is going to be key. Now, let me tell you, if you haven't fueled yourself properly and you haven't hydrated yourself properly, it's not going to work as well. So, don't think that you haven't had any breakfast or you didn't have anything to eat yet, and then you do a little reset and you're going to be fantastic because your body is telling, fuel me, fuel me. So understand that the facts were also important. Did you get some sleep? Did you fuel yourself properly? Did you hydrate your body properly? And understand that all of this is happening at a cellular level. Of course, if we had more time, I would be showing you more images and pictures so you can really understand what's going on in your brain. I think that people are able to acknowledge, because we always talk about thought as something so abstract that then we don't really realize we are the ones causing all those changes. So everything that Regina was talking about really causes an effect at the cellular level. Okay, everything that Maria was talking about in terms of goals and writing them and the way that they have to be clear and specific because of language is setting up neural networks at the cellular level. So it is not just this thought and this abstract thing that's going on somewhere outside of your body. It's really very internal. And that's why I love teaching about this, because the more you understand you are really the one causing those changes, the more every time you repeat a morning ritual, or you repeat a morning routine, or you decide to go for a walk because you really need that breathing and that refreshing of the brain so that you can refocus. It's so purposeful that you're understanding that you are causing the changes and the neuroplasticity in your brain. So it is really important that you understand this is not just out there and abstract concepts. It's really very physical, in the physical structural parts of your body that are happening, and you can cause those changes. You can really take an active role in creating that change.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it just kind of like reinforces like everything that we learned from today. And another thing I want to just kind of add in, what you write, you invite. Maria, you shared that earlier, and I encouraged you at the beginning just to take notes. And if you see me looking down, yes, I have all my own notes, and then I have all the notes I wrote down from all the other presenters, right? And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to take those notes and I'm going to put them into a notebook that's very organized. And that's a great strategy for your brain, because then your brain begins to remember. It's like you use the word repeat, Dr. Aponte, that we're repeating something. And so you're really wanting to focus on those things so that they stick in your brain and that you continue the process. Regina, I also like that you mentioned, I've been doing some reading with Mel on the book that you mentioned. Oh my goodness, Let Them, right?
Uh-huh.
Let them. I mean, I think that's good too. Some of us just came out of the holidays, and not everyone is so pleasant to be around. Let's be honest. Unless you have the perfect family. If you do, that's great. I'm like, congratulations. But for a lot of people, that's not the way it works. I gave myself, Regina, a 4, but I'm going to tell you, most years I probably give myself a 1. Okay. I feel like the holidays have always been really hard for me. And this year I made like a very strategic plan and I stuck to it. And even my family was like, wow, like that was good. That was different. But it all goes back to us making a choice and then following through. And it doesn't mean everything was perfect. Our family was sick for 2 weeks, right? So we didn't even have Christmas on Christmas. We had Christmas on New Year's Eve. And so we had to pivot a lot too. But when you learn that with like emotional intelligence, and you're like, okay, it's okay. We're gonna get to celebrate later. It's okay that the tree stays up for an extra week. And when you begin to balance those things in your brain and you really believe it, it changes the way you think. So,
Don't worry, I keep the tree up for an extra week for Three Kings Day because we celebrate
oh,
in
there you
Puerto Rico.
go.
So you're just celebrating with me.
Perfect. I love it. Any questions today? All right. Let me ask this question. You can even put it in the chat. Would it be easier if we did a class like this on the weekend, like a Saturday morning? Yes, no? We have yes. Okay. I think maybe Monday morning when everyone went back to work wasn't the best day, but look, you all got the best right here on a Monday morning, right? So I'm thankful for all of our presenters today. Thank you, Dr. Aponte. Thank you, Regina, Maria. Deb and Trevor are so sorry they couldn't come, but let me tell you what, they will be on next time, and we look forward to hearing from them. Dylan, thank you for sharing with us about AI. What I love about having like Dylan and Trevor, which you're going to hear soon, is that we have some younger people on our team that they're going to be sharing, and it just brings that great perspective, right? It's different. It's for us to think in a different way. So thank you all for coming today. I hope you have a super blessed week. Have a wonderful new year, and we look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.